On this video we're going to start working on the enemies, but before jumping into the editor, we're going to get a little ahead of ourselves and take a look at the enemies we're going to create for this game. So we will have two types of enemies. One named Enemy Kamikaze, which goes down on a straight line, and another one named Enemy Clever, which goes down diagonally while shooting. And even though their behavior is quite different, they actually have a lot of things in common. As you might already guessed, we'll create each enemy on different scenes, but instead of coding twice those actions they share, we're going to have a scene named enemy which will hold the common behaviors, and then we'll inherit that scene to create our two concrete enemies. On this video we're going to focus on creating the basics of the enemy scene. We're going to define a velocity since both enemies have it. It might seem like the Kamikaze enemy lacks of the horizontal velocity, but it actually has one. Thing is, it's just 0. Other thing they both do, which can't actually be really appreciated here, is get destroyed when they reach the bottom of the view. There are a few other things we will be adding, but this is more than enough to get us started. So let's go to the editor and let's create a new scene. I'm going to add an area 2D node since we are going to be detecting collision later on. And I'll rename it enemy. I'm going to hit Ctrl S and save this scene in the scenes folder as enemy.tscn. Let's also add the sprite node and rename it sprite with lowercase because I want to be conventional with the nodes we have named so far. Now we won't be instantiating this scene on a stage because we are using it as an abstraction, so we don't need to assign a sprite on this node, but just for the sake of having something visual, I'll assign one. So I'm going to load the rectangle sprite. And since we are using an area 2D node, we need to define its shape. So let's add a collision shape node and rename it shape. And like with the sprite, we don't need to define a shape, but it won't hurt to do it. So I'm going to assign a new rectangle shape, edit it, and set its extension to 16 by 16. If we run this scene, the rectangle of course just stays put. We don't need to give it a velocity. So let's add a script and save it in the scripts folder as enemy.gd. Hit create. I'll remove these comments. And just like we did with the stars, to implement the velocity, I'm going to declare a member variable named velocity equals to vector2, along with the sport keyword so we can edit it from the inspector. Let's enable the process callback and create it down below. In here, we're going to translate this node with the displacement equals to velocity by delta sign. Let's assign a vertical velocity of 100 to try this out. Run the scene, and there we have it. We need to destroy this node once it is at the bottom of the view. So let's go to the script, and after translating the node, we will ask if the Y position is bigger or equal to the view's height, which we can get by saying getViewPerRect.size.height. And if this is true, we'll destroy this node by calling the function Q3. Let's give it a shot. And you can see that it's getting destroyed before being off screen. And that's because its origin position is right in the middle, so we'll need to add an offset. Since this rectangle is 32 by 32, we need an offset of 16. So on this assignment, we have to decrease its Y position by 16, or you can also increase the view's height by 16. Either way will work. Since it won't be possible for us to tell whether this function is getting called or not, I'm going to place a breakpoint on this line of code. So when this function is about to get executed, the game will stop. Let's give it a shot. And there we have it. I'm going to stop the scene, remove the breakpoint, and since we won't be using this scene for anything but as a template for other scenes, I'm going to set the velocity back to the default value specified by the script. Well, that's gonna be it for this video. Now that we have the main enemy scene, we can start working on the enemies itself. Thanks so much to all my patrons, and I'll see you on the next one.